Hello and welcome back to TNN's coverage of the world's 9 best fantasy football players league. I'm your host, and this is what we have for you this week. It's now week 13 and only 2 weeks to go before the playoffs. The trade deadline just passed and a couple big trades shook up the league. TNN reached out to some of the teams involved in trade deadline talks to see what they had to say.
Hey, TNN viewers. Thanks to TNN for reaching out. This is Tom, owner, general manager, and coach over at Worthy of Love. And it's been great working with Too Many Conks on this latest trade right before the deadline here. It can be a bit of a rush, and tempers can often flare at the deadline, but Too Many Conks have been great to work with, and owner, manager, and coach Joe has really developed a great relationship with everyone over here at Worthy of Love over the years. And so it was a real pleasure to be able to find an agreement that worked well for both teams. You know, Andrew and DeAndre have both made a lot of great contributions to our franchise, but they were looking to go off and hopefully secure a ring before it's time for them to retire. We wanted to honor that wish. And in turn, we found a couple of young players who are excited to develop into what will hopefully be a dynasty in the years to come. So it's been great negotiating, working on this trade, and I think both teams are very happy with the results.
And now, here is Danny Football with his picks for week 13. Hey, what's up, guys? World's 9 best fantasy football players expert, Danny Football here, back with another week of expert predictions. Last week, pretty good for me, going 5-1, bringing my total on the year up to a very nice 43-17. My guest, Vanek, unfortunately had a pretty rough week picking, going 2-4, not being able to beat the expert. But now, it's a new week. There's a new guest and a new chance to beat the expert. So guests, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself?
Thanks, Danny Football. It's Joe, owner, president, and CEO of the Too Many Conks organization. I'm here, very happy to be here on the Thanksgiving special of TNN. Exciting, happy Thanksgiving to all the 9 best friends and fantasy football players around the league. I hope you all have a lovely celebration that's filled with joy and football. But we're here to make some picks. I've got a mixed record against Danny Football. It's hard to beat the expert.
It is hard to beat the expert.
But I've done no analysis, and I'm here to pick based on vibes, so we'll see how that goes.
Sometimes vibes is the way to go, especially on Thanksgiving. Nothing like a great vibes show. Joe, you started out hot picking against the expert. Not as great of results recently, so I'm very interested to see how this goes, and let's get into it.
All right.
First up, we have the Judon Noodles taking on Jesus Christ. It's Jay Sanborn. Noodles favored this one at 72%. This matchup is, as I've been saying recently, it's the first one for a reason. These two teams are not very good. And if the Noodles' performance last week did not convince you of that, losing in terrible fashion to Worthy of Love, I'm going to do my best to convince you of that now. This is a team that should lead this terrible division of the Pac-4, and yet somehow they're losing to Ham and Throw, of all teams. This is a team that had championship aspirations at the start of the year.
It does every year.
Sitting there at 6-6, on the outside looking in, and in this matchup with Jesus Christ as Jay Sanborn, I'm not completely confident that this Noodles team can actually get it done. Jay Sanborn, I thought, very quiet around the trade deadline. I really expected them to make some moves. I heard they were trying to drive a hard bargain with certain teams, not really willing to negotiate and come down on their very lofty prices very much. We'll see if that comes back to bite them in the future as far as building their team. But when I have to actually pick this matchup, everyone knows I've been saying that the Judon Noodles are frauds all year. And I really want to stick to my guns here, but this Jay Sanborn team is so bad. I'm going to give a very slight edge. Just a complete gut instinct. I'm going to go with the Noodles in this one. I don't even know if they're going to make the playoffs, but I will give them a slight edge this week.
That's good analysis. I like that, Danny Football. You know, we've got on Tuesday, it's 72-28,
Yeah.
leaning in the Nudes direction. But we all know that sleeper predictions are garbage and don't mean anything.
Yeah.
That being said, this week they might be right. Jay Sanborn is a horrid team.
There's
It's so bad. And I'm glad that the league journalists are whispering in Danny Football's ear.
Yeah.
He's keeping his ear to the ground.
Look, I'm the world's 9 best fantasy football players insider. I know what's going on in the league at all times. So,
I mean, Timmy's got a lot of weapons here. All in favorable matchups this week.
yeah.
And you're totally right that he should be winning, at least leading, this absolute garbage conference. It's really just sad to watch these matchups. It's not competitive at all.
It is.
It's all just trash.
Well, except for when Worthy of Love goes out and beats the Judon Noodles.
That's right. I mean, we're all here to see that. And I know you like the Nudes this week, and I agree with you that they're a garbage team.
Yeah.
I like the Nudes this week, but I think it's Nooch's week
Wow.
to play spoiler on Timmy's season and pull something out. I'm giving it to Jay Sanborn.
Wow. Bold pick.
Very bold. We're picking on vibes.
Vibes for the Noodles, bad. Very bad. Next up, we have Worthy of Love taking on Ham and Throw. Ham and Throw favored at 73%. Joe, who do you like in this matchup?
Oh, man. Well, I don't like either of these teams. I really don't like... I mean, I guess Ham and Throw is going to make the playoff by winning out this division.
Well, you never know.
You never know. It's tight between him and the Nudes,
Yeah.
except not really. But, that being said, you just can't pick Worthy of Love.
No.
They have nothing going for them. I mean,
Yeah.
now they've got Tom, great trade partner. We made a little swap deal, Gink for Waddle. I think it worked out well for both teams.
I
A
agree.
little electricity in the locker room for too many conks, just plug and play. And Waddle will be good in the future. Actually, best week of like the last 3 seasons for him last week.
Instant gratification for
That's right.
Worthy of Love.
On both ends of that
Yeah.
trade. That being said, it's really that's it. That's all they've got. I mean, Mahomes, he's gonna come out strong against the Raiders on Friday, but then he's probably gonna stop throwing the ball sometime around the second quarter.
Yeah.
So I don't think Worthy's gonna do much this week. I don't think Mahomes is gonna do much this week for me. I'm giving it to Ham and Throw, unfortunately.
Yeah, I like that pick here. Look, I really do like the trade for Worthy of Love. I think Waddle could be a very good piece for them going forward. I mean, Tyreek is getting old. They will need someone to throw the ball to, and I think Waddle can be that guy. He's probably the best player they have on their roster right now.
By far, yeah.
Good trade for them. Sets them up to really have that building block for the future. Unfortunately, the future does not really help them right now, and as you mentioned, this team is not good. Another team that is not good is Ham and Throw, and somehow they found themselves right in the middle of the playoff hunt, currently playing spoiler to the Texarkana Bandits, putting the Bandits down in the toilet bowl as of this week. So, a little something to look out for. Will Mike Visconti be the most insufferable owner in the league by sneaking into the playoffs? Why does that show up?
Ham and Throw.
They know. The AI knows. Thumbs down for Ham and Throw. You know what? I don't even need to say anymore.
You know, he's just gonna finish fifth. He's gonna knock Grayson out just to wind up in fifth place.
I'll be here for it. I got to give the nod to Ham and Throw this week. Unfortunately, I've been saying this a lot lately with this Ham and Throw team of I hate what they're doing, but I have to give them the edge this week because they're playing these just absolutely awful teams.
Really bad.
So I'm going to let Hammond throw continue to sneak through, slide by. I think they probably end up in the playoffs. We all hate to see it for a variety of reasons. And congratulations, Hammond throw. The expert is picking you yet again. Next up, we have Team M. Vanek taking on Team Big Chungus 22. Team M. Vanek favored in this one at 67%. This matchup, honestly, this one could have been the first matchup. Big Chungus, I was very happy to see them sell some of their guys. Tyreek, Kamara, older assets. I think it was really good for them to make that pivot, get some draft capital in the future. I would have liked to see them get a little bit more, but who's to say what's going on in the Chungai locker room? I'm sure they're all fired up, getting some prospective young guys added to the roster.
The energy had to change.
Exactly. Speaking of vibes, the vibes were not there for the Chunguses this year. So, Will, I know you were probably frantically working the phones last week. I know you're someone who's very dedicated to the league, to fantasy football in general, so congratulations on pulling off this big trade with Miguel, and I look forward to seeing what your team does with those draft picks in the future, because there's not much to look forward to watching with this team right now. For Team M. Vanek, they're currently favored 67% in this one. I think, honestly, sleeper projections, maybe underestimating Team M. Vanek in this one. With the Chunguses giving up two of their best players, there's really not too much left on this team to love. They actually have a couple solid guys still, but definitely not a complete team. And Team M. Vanek is one of those complete teams right now. Very good, top to bottom. We're expecting them to be in the chase for the championship. I think that does not change this week. I'm going to go with Team M. Vanek to pick up the win in this one.
Yeah, I think that's great analysis. It's hard. This conference is so hot right now between Brett, Vanek, and myself.
Mm-hmm.
Really.
And Will is also there.
Will is there. That's true. He's there. Hey, he's in a rebuild.
Exactly.
He's in a rebuild.
All
right, he'll be there next year.
You see, really, it's smart play by the Chunguses to give wins to everyone else in the division, so that way they all make the playoffs, have worse draft picks in the rookie draft.
That's so true. This is deep state conspiracy right here. Maybe Will really does know what he's doing.
He does.
I don't want to root for Team M. Vanek because we are in direct like neither of us is going to catch Brett. Brett could lose to me this week. He could lose to Will next week.
Yes.
But
the division is locked up for the Brick Walls and the first round bye for the Brick Walls.
Yeah, so he's going to make the playoff. Period. I'm now jockeying with Team M. Vanek, who it doesn't please me to see facing off against a weakened Team Big Chungus 22. After giving up two of their biggest weapons, like you said, really the true value in their team, although there's a couple other pieces here that could be good, it's tough for me to watch what's about to happen because it's going to be bloody.
Yeah.
The Chungus is going to lose some steam here for sure.
Perhaps be a little bit of a smaller Chungus.
Definitely not as big. A medium-sized Chungus after this week, that's for sure. I've got to give it to Team M. Vanek simply because I want to try and beat the expert, and the vibes are moving in his direction, but I will be cheering on Team Big Chungus 22 in spirit.
You gotta make smart picks against the expert.
You have to.
Next up, we have the SWAT team taking on Blood, Sweat, and Beers. SWAT currently favoring this one at 79%. Joe, what are your thoughts on this matchup?
I mean, it's really, this is one of those games that's it's going to be like the last one. Right?
Yeah.
You've got a juggernaut against Blood, Sweat, and Beers, they've been performing lately.
They're in the playoff hunt right now.
Yeah, that's right. I think that this week is going to knock them out of the playoff hunt simply because they're just facing an unstoppable force.
Not a thumbs up to that. Sorry to all the viewers at home. The AI is playing favorites tonight.
The Zoom AI. So, the SWAT team, it feels unstoppable. I'm doing the best that I can. We're all doing the best that we can, really. But I don't know if the hope is there in Blood, Sweat, and Beers. I mean, the division's locked, right?
The
the
division
SWAT
is
team.
locked.
The bye is
locked.
So Commissioner Tooch is going to be in the dance.
Mm-hmm.
It's up to all of us to band together and take him down. But Jacob, I'm sorry, I don't think you're the guy to do it. At least this year. I'm going with the SWAT team, sadly.
Yeah, I think that's a smart pick here. The SWAT team, they have been looking pretty good lately. They're always up there in the top part of the league as far as scoring every week. Usually not number one, but they'll always be around like that top 3 to 4 mark. It's a very tough team to beat because they are that very consistent, good team. You got to really have those explosive weeks. And I don't know if we really get that out of this Blood, Sweat, and Beers team. I've given Jacob his props. This team has been a lot better than I expected this year. I know they were trying to shop some guys around at the trade deadline. We're not able to make anything work, but when they're in the playoff hunt still, it's probably not the worst thing in the world for them to hold on to their guys, because once you're in, anything can happen, as we've seen with some teams in the past making deep runs into the playoffs. With that being said, though, the SWAT team, they're currently chugging along at full strength. The commissioner and all of the SWAT team have their eyes set on the championship. They are only 2 wins away from putting their name on the trophy again, guaranteed that spot in the semifinals with the first round bye locked up. And I know it's going to be a very rough next couple of weeks for the league. I don't think it gets any easier for people this week. I'm going to go with the SWAT team to pick up the win over Blood, Sweat, and Beers.
Do we think that Nick Bosa and Roquan are going to play?
That's a good question. I know that they were both dealing with some minor injuries this past week, but the SWAT team, they've got that depth where even if those guys don't play, they're still looking pretty good. DJ Wanham had a nice week. Malik Harrison, the backup on the Ravens, filled in seamlessly for Roquan. So this is a team that is built to contend even without their top guys there. So I wouldn't be banking on Bosa and Roquan dragging this team down if they're not playing.
All right. SWAT team it is.
Next up, we have undefeated, never lost, taking on the Texarkana Bandits. Bandits currently favored in this one at 64%. This is one that was actually very close to being the marquee matchup this week, simply because of the playoff implications of this matchup. The Bandits, astoundingly, sitting there at 500 through 12 weeks. And if you would have told me that at the beginning of the season, if you would have told anyone that at the beginning of the season, I do not think they would have believed you. This is a team that has all the talent in the world, and they've now lost 4 straight to put themselves in a position where they're on the outside looking in for the playoffs, and they have a couple moderately difficult games from here on out. Some other teams in the playoff hunt are going to continue to beat up on some of the weaker teams in this league. Things are not looking great for the Bandits right now. But with that being said, fans of the show will know that I am high on the Bandits. I know that may be a hot take right now with their current downward trajectory, but I know that this team, what they needed was a bye week for the Jacksonville Jaguars. And most importantly, Trayvon Walker.
Oh.
The man is rested up. He's going to be coming back full force, full strength. And I know he's going to be leading the charge against undefeated, never lost, and their fraudulent team this year. The amount of luck that this undefeated, never lost team has had this year is astonishing. In all of my years of deep coverage of this league, I don't think I've ever seen a team as lucky as undefeated, never lost. If the TNN statisticians had more time this week, I would go and tell them to go back, review the tape, and look this up and make sure that there is no team luckier than undefeated, never lost. But just based on my intuition, I believe this to be true. They pulled off one of the craziest trades I've seen in this league, getting Tyreek and Alvin Kamara for, I don't want to say pennies on the dollar, but perhaps 75 cents on the dollar.
They walked out of the bank with a lot.
They put themselves in a very good position where if they make the playoffs, they will have a bit of that scare factor behind them. They've got some pieces. JSN has been looking very nice. Tyreek, we all know what he can do. Kamara is one of those guys that can always pop off. I think they're going to be a very tough matchup here for the Bandits. The Bandits know that they need to get a win in this matchup, otherwise their season might be over. So, when it comes down to a team that I have been very high on, and a team that has been fraudulently good this year, some may say very lucky, a team that's been very unlucky, I think it's going to balance out this week for maybe the first time this season. And I'm going to go with the Bandits to put undefeated never lost back in their place as a team outside the playoffs. I'm going to go with the Bandits in this one.
That's a great pick. And I think we're all hoping that that's what happens. There is something to be said about the unluckiest team facing off against the luckiest team. That's a bad vibe.
Yeah,
Especially if you live in the state of Connecticut. Mm-hmm. Bad vibe. I would not want to be around Grayson this week. I mean, Miguel's team, he's got real power behind him now.
Yeah.
He had to have caught Will like fresh out of bed, pre-coffee, with that trade, or maybe Will's finger slipped and he's just too nice to say something about it.
My theory is Danny Stortz was the one negotiating this deal. We all know the Danny Stortz and Will DeTremp connection, very close,
very tight.
Danny much easier to negotiate with,
much easier to talk to. Mm-hmm. He's like sugar to Miguel's spice.
Exactly. A little good cop, bad cop.
Miguel just put a little cube of sugar right into Will's mouth there.
Miguel comes in, offers you a second and a third. Danny comes in, he throws the first on top.
I mean, I think this, again, for me, has huge implications, this matchup. I am also notably on the Bandits train. Mm-hmm. Not quite as high as Danny Football. I think that they've been flying a little too close to the sun the past couple of years, and
perhaps
maybe this is the year that their wings are starting to melt. Mm-hmm. I don't know. That being said, Miguel's got Geno Smith against the Jets. That's not a great matchup.
Yeah.
Geno's good. Jets defense probably better.
Yeah.
I don't even see Alvin Kamara in his lineup. So
on the bench right now.
He hasn't said it yet.
We are filming very early, so
he could get distracted.
Danny Stortz may be asleep at the wheel right now.
But Grayson, he's got some great weapons here. His team is always in contention. I'm giving it to the Bandits in hopes, delivering my vibes directly to the Bandits, that they, like you said, put undefeated never lost in their place and help me in my own personal playoff push. So thank you in advance, Grayson.
Finally, in our marquee matchup of the week, we have the Mental Brick Walls taking on Too Many Conks. Conks currently favored very narrowly in this one at 53%. Joe, what are your thoughts on this matchup?
Yeah, this is going to be a tough one. I'm going to be biting my nails all weekend long and crying myself to sleep all night. But these Conks are hotter than the surface of the sun right now.
They are. They are molten hot.
Flaming hot. We've got new energy, a jolt of electricity in the locker room with Gink. We've got the 5-pronged hydra of running backs, which start in my lineup every week. Some would say that's insane. That being said, here we are, highest scorer in the league now.
Yeah.
The Conks have put up 4 of the top 10 scores of all time in the year 2024. We've kissed 300 2 weeks in a row, and 2 weeks ago, we scored over 285 points. I would be terrified if I was facing the Conks in any situation. Brett and the league, you are on notice. This brick wall, I think it's got sand in the joints. Not glue, sand. The Conks are going to roll straight through and bust a hole in that thing. And it's really unfortunate that I can't spoil his season because I want to. I'm going to meet him again in the playoffs, probably. Probably. Likely. And if it's not him, then I'm meeting the SWAT team in the championship.
Wow.
And that's going to be a matchup for the ages. I'm taking down the SWAT team this year, and no one can stop me.
So
On to
I
you, Danny
take
Football.
you're selecting the Conks.
That's right. No doubt. Never a doubt.
Yeah, I think that's a good pick. Look, no one can deny the Conks have been very hot lately. They've been the hottest team, maybe ever,
In the history of the league.
in the history of the league with the stretch they put up here. So I do have to give them their props. Their team is very good. Saquon, incredible. The trade they pulled off to acquire Saquon, highway robbery.
I mean, I had a great joy looking back on that trade the other night. It did feel great.
It really was the perfect timing. Mark Andrews starts to tank off. Ayuk has been injured. It really was the perfect trade. For the Brick Walls, this team, I think they are up there in the contenders for best team in this league. I don't know if they're at the top, but they're certainly in the conversation. I know Brett is always much lower on his team, and I think that does speak to the mentality of this team. Maybe not super mentally strong. Despite what the name may suggest, not a lot of confidence from ownership, and
Lots of self-doubt.
that's something you need when you're going up against a molten hot team like Too Many Conks. This is a team that's firing on all cylinders. They have all of their stars that are healthy right now. I'm literally speechless thinking about this team. I don't even have words to describe how insane this run has been for Too Many Conks. With that being said, though, this team, historically and in this season, has been known to lay an egg. More often than not, some may say, given the track record of this team historically. Some may recall a certain week when they played the SWAT team and had a horrific score. So this team can really fluctuate a lot in their week-to-week production. I think they're actually due for some regression here. And with that being said, I think the Brick Walls are going to come out on top in this one and put Too Many Conks in a very tough position with only 1 week to go. I'm going with the mental Brick Walls to come out on top in this one.
We'll have to see about that, Danny Football. It's going to be a big week.
It's a big matchup. Potential playoff matchup right here.
And massive playoff implications.
Absolutely. Well, Joe, it's been great having you on.
Thank you, Danny Football.
I'm wishing you all the best of luck with your picks. Of course, not as good as me. Can't beat the expert, but it's been great having you here, and maybe we'll see you back here in the playoffs.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, it's been an honor to be the last guest in this studio.
Yes. Wow, spoiler alert to all of the fans out there. TNN will be getting a new studio. Be sure to tune in next week to see what it looks like.
Upgrades, people. Upgrades.
Some may say. And thank you, Danny Football and guest Joe, for those great picks. That's all we have for you this time. Be sure to tune in next week to see how things shook out. I'm your host, and this has been TNN.
Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit that bell.